What up, son? What up? It's Louis Max. So I had the opportunity to speak with Danny Miles, head basketball coach for 46 years at Oregon Institute of Technology. Aside from having over 1,000 career wins, he is what you call a fine, upstanding human being. Take a listen as a legend talks about hoops and life. Enjoy.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
What up, son? What up? Louis Max, Grind&Pivot, Queens, New York. Today, I have the honor to speak with a college basketball coach with over 1,000 career wins. That's right, 1,000. A former standout high school athlete back in the day, from what I understand, and most importantly, an all-around solid human being. Coach Danny Miles, Oregon Institute of Technology. Coach, a pleasure. How are you, and how you making out with the COVID and the pandemic?
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you today, and we're doing okay. We're, of course, in the state of Oregon, and we haven't had, I know our county, we have about 250,000 in our county. We've had 2 deaths in our county, and Oregon's doing pretty well during the entire panic, although it's rising a little bit here as far as some of the cases, but it's been pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely been a challenging time for this country, no doubt about it. I live on the East Coast, and we were the forerunners. We got hit pretty hard early, but we've been able to try to figure it out, and hopefully going forward, things are getting better. But it's still, as you know, a problem. So, Coach, how much do you miss coaching these days? Because I know you're not coaching and interacting with the young people.
Yeah, actually, I got done in 2016. I had some health issues with some cancer, and I was able to beat that. But the first 2 years are kind of tough. I wanted to go at least 2 more years of my coaching, take some of the kids I recruited through the 4 years, and I had to cut that a little bit short. But since then, I've been doing fine. I had got to work in a high school situation here in Medford, Oregon, being an athletic director and doing some other things, working with the kids on a part-time basis, and that kind of helped me wean me off of it. But I've been retired full-time now for a year, and look back on, it was time, and I feel good about being out of it now.
You do? Okay. So you had a knack back in the day for recruiting student athletes versus athlete students. What was your process and your vision back then?
Well, when I first took over, I took over a 1-21 program from the year before, and we had nobody in the stands and things like that. So when I first took over, I went the JC route early, and we won 11 games our first year, and then we won 15 or 14, and then we won 25, went to that first national tournament. But those first years, I was using mostly junior college kids. And back then at Oregon Tech, we had several 2- and 4-year programs that really fit some of the kids, and it worked out pretty well. About my 20th year, I decided to go almost all freshmen and redshirt the kids. We became a very difficult school as far as most of our programs are like in engineering and in a lot of the medical fields and different things like that. So the student athlete we had to get then was kids that we'd like to have in the program 4 and maybe 5 years. And so we went that way, and my last 25 years, we only had one team that had under a 3-point GPA, and they were 2.98. So getting this good student athletes really helped us, and then it fit more of the 4-year programs.
Interesting. So you also, someone told me, Russ McMahon, who's one of my producers and a good friend who kind of connected us, he had mentioned to me that you were recruiting quite a bit internationally. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I had my first international player was an Australian, and then I got connections down the road. I had a player played at the University of Puget Sound, played with a guy over Germany, and the kid. I remember our program. He called me and asked me if I was interested in a German player, and I brought him over. And then it was kind of the thing that those guys liked it, and they told other kids about our program and the school. And eventually I had 8 Australians that come over, and we had like 4 German players. In fact, I recruited the two guards that started with Dirk Nowitzki in Würzburg, Germany. Nowitzki at that time was 17. These 2 guys were about 18 and 19. I brought both of them over. Actually talked to Dirk about coming over, but he'd already been offered $5,000 to play in Greece for $5 million, and he was going to go straight on into the pros like he did. Had a tremendous career, but I got those guys, and then I got other guys because of that. So we ended up, after my 45 years of coaching, we had 28 foreign kids play for us during that period, and there wasn't one of them weren't really happy to have, and they were very good student athletes at our school.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Nowitzki would have been a pretty good get for you, huh?
Yeah, I got to meet the guy that worked with him all the time, and had him playing the violin and doing all these other things besides basketball and make him a better player. It was quite interesting watching how he developed and how this guy actually, I think I can't remember his name right now, but he went over to Dallas with him and was coached him for over several years after he became a pro.
Right. Did you actually go over to overseas to recruit?
Yes, I did. I coached in France for about 13 summers. Had an opportunity to go over there with Adidas, and I had a great experience, and they kept inviting me back, and I go over there for about 2 weeks, and then it worked out pretty good. I made enough money, and then I bring my wife over. We usually go different places like Normandy and things like that in Europe, places we wanted to see, and worked out real well. And also went to Greece. I went to Germany, and that's where I talked to Nowitzki and the other 2 young men that I had, along with a couple other. I also brought a coach in from Germany. There was a U18 coach. He went on to coach at Stanford 1 year with Coach Montgomery too.
Mike Montgomery, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he coached with us for a year. So it was nice having some of those kind of guys come over.
Right. A little different structure they came from when playing wise, right? A little more, a lot more movement, different head on their shoulders than the U.S. players. Did you find that back then, or was it always like that, or became more like that?
Well, I really, they have a different system there that they don't have the high school level, athletics. They're all clubs.
Mm-hmm.
And the nice thing about that, if you're real good at 14, 15, you could be on a club that's maybe has a pro team. And so you're practicing with 23, 24, 28-year-olds at 15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
And that's why Doncic and some of these guys are so good so early, because they've played a lot of basketball. I think fundamentally they really work on fundamentals in their camps, and we're there for a while in the United States. It got to be all dunking 3-pointers and guys going to camp just playing games and not really getting a lot of fundamentals. They caught up with us in a lot of ways. You can see that in international basketball now, how much they've improved. But I was very impressed with the coaching over in places like Germany and France, and they did a great job with the young people. And the other thing, they did a great job with big people too. They taught them to shoot, handle the ball, and where in America most of the big kids are playing with their back to the basket. Over there, the kids were more stretch forward types for many years.
Right. That was back in the day.
Yes,
back in the day. I mean, we need some guys to play with their back to the basket now. I mean, a couple of guys like Porzingis, he's afraid to get even near the hoop. I mean, the guy's 7 feet tall. Needs some rebounds.
Yeah, the game's really changed. It's they got those stretch forwards that can shoot, and they're pulling the big guy away from the hoop too. And if you don't go out and guard him, they're going to knock him down. So
Right.
It's a completely different game now.
Yeah, it really is. And we're going to talk about that a little later. Let's go back to your early years personally. I know you were quite a football player, right? And baseball player, but mostly football back in the day. Tell us where you're from and how big athletics were when you were growing up.
Yeah, I was grew up in the high school was in the 60s. I was lucky enough to play in Medford, Oregon. And senior year, we were rated third in the nation behind Valdosta, Georgia, and Massillon, Ohio. And in football, we were undefeated, gave up 20 points all season, and played in front of 10,000 people about every home game.
Wow.
So it was a really good sports town. And I played football, basketball, and baseball. I liked all three of them about the same. And I went on to play college, go to Oregon State in a baseball scholarship. I got recruited by the U of O, Oregon State. I was only 17 when I went to, I was in college, so I was younger than most of the guys. And I had an accident and transferred to Southern Oregon University in Ashland, Oregon. I had a smashed my vertebrae in my back in a toboggan accident. So I had to lay out the year, which turned out to be a redshirt year for me because of the injury, which was good because I was playing. I started at quarterback as a freshman, started at point guard, basketball, started shortstop as a freshman in college in all three sports. Had a great career in college, a lot of fun, a lot of good people I played with. And then I had the opportunity play. Had a chance to sign with the Yankees when I was 17. A chance to sign with the Giants when I was 21. But when I was 21, I had one more year of football. And back then, you couldn't play pro baseball, sign a pro contract, and then play football the next year. And I felt I needed to get back with for my senior year with the guys I played football with for 3 years. So I didn't sign when I was 21. And then the next year, I had a real good coaching job and teaching job. So rather than maybe ride the bus for 2 or 3 years in minor leagues, I decided to go into coaching, and it worked out well.
Wow. So that Oregon State versus Southern Oregon was quite a pivotal moment, right?
Yeah, it was. It actually turned out real well for me. I wouldn't have been coaching basketball all these years without making that move, probably, because I had the opportunity to play all three sports in college and liked all three of them. I actually gave up basketball after the first year, even though I started, but because football overlapped and baseball was, I was out late coming out for baseball and basketball.
Yeah.
So I gave up the sport in the middle so I could concentrate on the other two the rest of the way.
Wow. Great story. So you played quarterback, point guard,
Yeah, I was
and
quarterback,
shortstop.
point guard, and shortstop.
Going back for a second, did you have any other offers? You stayed at OIT for 46 years. Did you ever have any offers to go D1, D2, the pros, anything different while you were there or early on as you were amounting to the wins?
Yeah, I had quite a few opportunities. I had three boys, and each one of them, they were all very good high school athletes, and they all went on to play Division I baseball. Mm-hmm. And we had I coached American Legion ball in our town too. We were state champs a couple of times, and runner-ups 3 times, and in our state, and did well in the regionals. We went on the regionals and beat California state champs, and we got to we came in 3rd place in the regionals one year, and the team that beat us went on and won the national championship. But I had an opportunity to do those things, but every time I had a chance to go someplace else, coaching-wise, my kids are pretty ingrained in the baseball here. I didn't want to move someplace where it would hurt them. And I got to about my 20th year that I just decided this was my Notre Dame right here in Oregon Tech, and I felt like I just felt that a lot of coaches really were kind of jealous of the situation we had. We got great crowds and great following, had great people living in the community that we were in, and why go on someplace else? But I had some opportunities, but I think I made the right choice to stay in, and just had a real fortunate to have a great career with some great kids and great coaches I worked with, and great friends in Klamath Falls, Oregon. So I think sometimes a lot of coaches have told me that I did the right thing. They went on, several coaches I knew went on to the D1 level, and last 3 or 4 years, and then regretted what they did by leaving because they had a great thing going at the place they came from. So I'm not so sure. And I talked to a couple of pro coaches. I got put in the Hall of Fame a couple of years ago. And talked to Paul Westfall, and he told me he had as much fun coaching in high school that he did coaching the pros and a major college. So, and I've heard that from a lot of guys.
Yeah, I mean, you can ask Bob Hurley. He's been he stayed in high school the whole time. I mean, he got some great players. That's for sure. Yeah, the D1 road and the D2. Well, not the D2, but the D1 road it's tough. There's a lot of pressure. I mean, it's almost you're more of a manager and a sales exec, than really staying in with the kids. Although you're with the kids all the time, but the road is a tough one, and especially if you have a family, you have to really make that decision, and you have to have the support of your family as well.
Yeah, you do. It's not an easy job. The road trips are tough, and at our level we don't fly. Take the bus most of the time, and every once in a while fly to, of course, the national tournaments and things. But you really get to know the kids. You're on the bus with them, and you spend a lot of time with the young men you work with or young ladies, and coaching is very rewarding, but it's a difficult job also.
No doubt. Was there pressure for you to win outside of yourself, which we could also talk about, but from the program itself?
Yes, I tell you what, in my last 4 or 5 years coaching, we won the national championship, our third one in 2012. And I just felt like if we didn't win 26, 28 games a year, we had a bad year. And for my career, we won at least 23, average over 23 wins a season. And but if you won 20, you felt like it's a bad year.
Yeah, sure.
So you put that pressure on yourself, and then people take it for granted too. They expect you to win all the time. We had a 49-win home winning streak, and then we had a 65-game home winning streak. And when we finally break that, people couldn't figure out how we lost the game. And but I think it's tough. You're almost luckier sometimes when 15 or 16 a year, you don't have as much pressure, but when you're winning in the 28s, and we had 10 30-win seasons, you make it tough on yourself if you've had that kind of a program. It's not easy to try to keep it at that level.
Now, the wins are always easy to deal with. We know that. And, how did you deal with the losses? Did you still, you were winning so much, but did the losses still eat away at you? How did you handle those?
I had to say, I made a faith commitment in 18 years ago, and it was really helped me. I used to hate going on road trips because that's usually where you lose. You go on a long road trip.
Sure.
If you get split on the old thing, if it's split on a road, it's a great road trip. Well, a lot of times you'd lose a couple. We play on Fridays and Saturdays usually, and usually had to sometimes make a 200-mile trip after the Friday game to go someplace else in the snow and bad weather and stuff. So it wasn't easy making those road trips in the first place. But after I made a faith commitment, I just felt one of the things I was going to enjoy the rest of the time on the road, and I felt we started playing a lot better because I handled it a lot better. Our whole thing was we had 3 things we talked about: was execution, intensity, and enthusiasm. Mm-hmm. I wanted my kids to execute what we wanted. I wanted them to play with intensity, of course, and be enthused about playing. We wanted it to be exciting every time we played. After the ball game, I measure wins and losses by those 3 things. And I can't remember in the last 20 years of coaching that I was upset more than 2 or 3 times after a ball game because our kids always played hard and did what they're supposed to do, and tried to teach them to walk off the court with your head up because of the way you competed, and we did that most all the time.
How valuable were your assistants and the managers and your support staff? I know you had a couple of main people that you worked with, but how valuable were they?
Oh, they were great. I was real lucky in a town size of Klamath Falls to be able to find some real quality people. The one I'll mention first, of course, is Mike Bazan. He was with me for 17 years, and when he wasn't with me, he was doing he was doing the color for a great play-by-play man we had, Bobby Thompson. But Mike was a guy who was assistant superintendent, a high school principal, and he was with me for a couple of years in the late 70s, and then didn't come back until pretty close to right around 2000, 2002, something
30
like that.
years later?
Yeah.
Wow.
Or about 20, maybe 24 years later, I think. But he stepped right back in, and he had great insight. There's times every once in a while I try to maybe make a change and he'd say, "Hey, Coach, let's wait until Monday to do that. It's maybe too late this weekend to make that change," and stuff like that. And I listened to him on those things because he had great insight and loved the kids and just did a great job. And I had two or three other guys that were tremendous too. That were with me for at least 10 years that were super. But I was fortunate that way. And we had, our system is pretty important, the way we did things. The way we played, we wanted to run at all times and run the lanes hard. We ran the post lane break, and I'd have two of my assistants. One assistant would take our wings, the other take our two posts, and I'd take the point guard, and we'd script our substitutions. So they'd substitute at those positions. I'd substitute the point guard, so I could worry more about the other parts of the game. And worked real well for us because we had to play 10 guys a game. We tried to keep them fresh so we could really pound.
Because you were running so much? Because you were running so much. Mm-hmm.
We wanted to run, and we wanted to play hard on defense where you get into people. And we felt we could do that for 40 minutes if we played a lot of kids, but that still have the best kids in the ball game as often as we could.
Right. Now, I might have to bring it up now that you started talking about it. I wanted to kind of talk about it later, but you have a system that's kind of known, the point system. Could you explain? I think a lot of people would really be interested in hearing that. I've coached, as I said, as in high school and junior college. And can you enlighten us about the process? And others, I'm sure, would like to hear about your point system. I think some books have been written about it. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's been books and videos, and I call it the value point system. I came up with it 45 years ago when I first took over coaching. I wanted a system that is actually Moneyball. I remember my assistant Mike Bazan came in one day, and he said he saw a movie called Moneyball, and he said, "God, it's just like our system." Well, I came up with that 20 years before, and the other thing, when I was in the early 60s, when I was playing college ball and high school ball, really the way you got the recognition in basketball is how many points you scored or how many rebounds you got. The assists weren't really a big thing back then. A lot of places didn't even keep them. And, drawn charges, different things, steals, those weren't kept. And video of games weren't, they sometimes have a movie of
not much film.
But there was hardly any film at all. So, but I came up with that system. I thought would really because I thought there were certain things that a great player did that maybe the guy that scored 35 points a game didn't do, and that other guy was a much more valuable player to winning. And so what I came up with, I took points plus rebounds plus 2 times assists plus 2 times recoveries. Those are all positive things. And recovery was a drawn charge, a steal, or a block. And then I divided it by 2 times field goals missed, plus free throws missed, plus 2 times turnovers, plus 2 times fouls. And I came out with a system where 1.00 and below was poor, 1.00 to 125 was fair, 125 to 150 was good, 150 to 175 was very good, and above 175 was terrific or whatever. And then I did all the pros and broke them down, and then I did it with my players. And what I did was after we started videoing our games and things, and we'd have 9 scrimmages each year before our first ball game, full scrimmages, sometimes 12-minute quarters, so guys would get more time. And I'd get them is able to get them with that much time, better chance on the value points to figure out who should be playing. And what we did was after each scrimmage, we'd break down the film and we'd do the kids' value points, and we'd always list our value points top to bottom. We never put stats in the newspaper without the value points always top to bottom. When we put them up in the room for the kids to look at, we'd go from best value points down, and not by points scored or any of that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so what we did was it turned out really well for us. We'd use that. We'd bring a kid in after the 9 scrimmages before we start our season, and we'd sit them down and tell them, go over the value points with them. And a great example was that we had a young man out of Medford, Oregon, who was really a good shooter, very quick, good defensive player, but didn't really pass very well. And so we brought him in. He had like 11 assists, 34 turnovers, or 13 and 34, which is a bad assist turnover ratio.
Yeah.
And so I told him, I said, look, you're throwing the ball away a lot going to the post, and you don't have to throw the ball post. We got 2 or 3 guys who can do that. You just swing the ball.
Yeah, to the wing.
Make the basic pass, and don't worry about you being a guy that's trying to thread the needle into the post or whatever.
Right.
And if you do that, you can play for me. If you don't, it's going to be hard to play. Well, he ended up playing, started the scrimmages at .98, which was poor. I mean, that's how he finished the first year of the scrimmages. And for his career, he ended up playing at .166, which was terrific. And so he got better at passing, but the thing was he started doing the things he did well, not trying to do the things he didn't do well. And we were able to do that with a lot of kids. If a guy was shooting a bad percentage, we could show them on paper they got to shoot at least 42, 44% from the field. You can't be shooting 25%, that type of thing. And so as it turned out, the kids really started not turning the ball over as much. The good kids, the good players loved it. The bad players didn't like it. And part of it too, the bad player was sometimes that guy could dunk on everybody. He was quick. He'd shoot a lot, so he'd score points. But a lot of the kids thought a guy like he was the best player on the team. Well, he wasn't. He's the worst, one of the worst. And this was able to show him and the rest of the team that he was hurting the team because he had negative stats or stats that weren't very good. And so that really helped that guy. If he learned to play the game the correct way, he became probably a real good player. If he didn't, he wasn't going to play. And it also is very good when you're working with parents, having stats there that really show how a kid's playing. And there's still a lot of subjectivity into coaching, And
yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah.
I mean, that it's still there's a big feel. You got to have the feel for the game and during the game.
Right.
A lot of people say that the game, the best guys are at 2 minutes and below, right? That's when the game starts. I mean, maybe 5 minutes and the game starts, or 3 minutes, right?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing too, though. A lot of there's no garbage time in our program, and so if a kid came in for 4 minutes a game, instead of trying to jack up 6 shots to show the coach that you can score, and usually you look real bad doing it, you come in, if you can draw a charge, maybe get an assist, go 1 for 2 from the foul line, and you do that continually in your 5 minutes, 6 minutes. Pretty soon you get more. It all accumulates, and you're going to be playing after 10 games. Maybe you're playing at 1.40. Right. Well, you deserve playing time, and you get a little more time that way. And what you're telling the coach, we're not going to drop off any with you in the ball game. And so that's one of the real nice things about it. A guy can show his worth to the coach and to his teammates by how he comes into the ball game, how he plays.
Oh, absolutely. So you had the proof of the pudding really in the stats, and going back to the parents, you were able to show them as well. Is that what you were kind of intimating to?
Well, one thing, I didn't have to worry too much about parents at the college level.
Yeah, for sure.
But in high school, coaches that use my system, they felt it's really good in relating to any parents that had something wanted to talk about. So,
right. Was it hard selling the kids on it?
No, like I said, the kids really liked it. And see, we told them if in those scrimmages, I usually knew within 2 or 3 wins how many wins we'd have after our 9 scrimmages. If we were playing at a 1-4-0, we're going to win 25 or more games. And what we wanted to do is hold our team to play in that 1-4 to 1. In fact, our 3 national championship teams and our team that came in second in the nation over a 4-year period, we averaged 1.44 offensively, and we held our opponents to 1.02.
Wow.
Which is a 0.42 difference. But so if we played at about a 1-5-0 in our scrimmages, we were going to win 25 to 30 games. And if we played a 1-3-0 in our scrimmages, for example, we were going to probably win 20 games or 18 or 19 games. And it worked out that way almost every year.
Right. Coach, were you a big math guy growing up?
Actually, I was a minor in math.
Oh, okay, and, there you. All right, I gotta say, I hope so. I hope that was the answer.
Well, I love statistics, and I think it won us.
I see.
Yeah, I think it really helped us win games because it's like you tell somebody, well, you don't need. Some guy said, well, you don't need math and being a coach. And I said, well, what about the guy that's a 60% foul shooter? What's his odds of making both? And the guy, well, 50%. And I said, no, 36%, because and that type of thing. And those are things that help you win ball games.
No doubt about it. No, I really do find it fascinating and obviously successful. So just to take another path here, I understand you have an underlying affinity for community theater back in the day. You care to let that out? Because I know there's somebody that you might have come across while doing community theater that was a pivotal moment in your life.
Oh yeah, well my wife,
right?
Yeah, she was in a couple plays, did real well, and so of course I had to go watch a lot of the practices and stuff like that, but she was. She did really well, and she was in theater quite a bit. And also she was a very good singer in college and was on a scholarship there for in that area. So we had a lot of fun watching her do her thing.
Absolutely. So that's where, and you guys actually met doing a show. Is that correct? Or
yeah, that's true. Well, actually, where we met was we had to raise money for Oregon Tech school, and they put on a kind of a Follies thing every year, and the coaches had to dress up, do a dance and skirts and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how that happened.
Gotcha. Yeah, I want you to know I'm wearing my Hoops Falute hat.
Okay,
yeah,
that's great.
Because I've been following the Owls for a long time since since I know Russ. He has such an affinity for the program. He really, really loves you guys.
Yeah, we did a great job when he was here and what he did for us, and that was great.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have 3 boys, and there's a pivotal moment in your life that came later on that you actually adopted an adult child later on in life. I find this absolutely fascinating. Would you be willing to share and tell us about that and what's going on with that now?
Yeah, Judy and I have been married almost 33 years now. I had my 3 boys, and she had a boy and a girl, so we had 5 children between us, and so in 2010, I got invited with Athletes in Action. First, they were going to send me someplace in the Middle East to take a team over to work with a team, play some games with Athletes in Action, and coach the team. Or they had another project called the East African Project, where we were going to go to Kenya and Rwanda with a group of about 50 coaches and take 28 pounds of Bibles. Each person take 28 pounds of Bibles and things over. And so when we went over there, we went to Kenya first, and then we for a week, and then we broke off and went to Rwanda. Another group went to Uganda. And when we went to Rwanda, we met a young lady. My wife already got involved with her, and the women sometimes do one thing in Rwanda, and we do the guys do coaching. And then the women would meet us later, and a lot of them were women coaches or coached with us, too, and we do clinics. Mm-hmm. And so Judy met Honorine, who at that time was almost 19 or 20 years old, and and she had been orphaned, and just a neat young lady. And so the next year we came back again. We went back and we went to Rwanda again, and we were coaching there, and we met up with her once again, and we decided we're going to ask her if she'd like to be part of her family, even though she was just turning 20, and so she said she would love to, and so we came home. It took us 5 years to get her here. So she got here. I mean, we tried everything. Went through the congressman and different things. The U.S. Embassy wouldn't let her in for 5 years, and finally she got a green card, and she made it. An interesting thing, she got here like 2 days before my last home game. They had a big banquet. The first night she was here, they had a big banquet for me going away, that type of thing. But we're just really lucky to have her. She's been here 10 years now, and she has a college degree, and she speaks 3 languages. And the COVID, she had to come home from school back east because of the COVID, and she'll be going to another school here, hopefully, when this thing.
Right. Where was she going back east?
She was at a school. She got an IT degree, and she was learning coding and stuff, and back east, and then the school had to shut down.
Right.
It was I don't even know the name of it, but it was a smaller school that just did mostly coding.
You still talk to your players regularly at all from back in the day? Were you like a father figure to any of them, a mentor to any of them?
Well, I like to think so. I got on Facebook during the COVID thing, and I'm off of it now after about 3 months. I really enjoyed. I really spent a lot of time talking to my ex-players or different things through that, and it was great hooking up with them. It was great seeing their families and different things, but there was so much negative stuff on Facebook. It was getting to me, and so I'm off of it now.
You had enough.
I'm much happier now than I was a week ago, and so I don't have to read all the hatred and stuff of people.
Unbelievable. It really is.
It's too much.
It is too much.
So, but I have I have a Jamaican young man. I'm a godson for his child, and he played for me about 35 years ago, and it's real neat. I have Delmas Green was a great player for me. His son, Josh Green, will go first round in the draft here.
Mm-hmm.
When the NBA draft. He played at Arizona this year.
Right.
He's considered one of the great players. And we have another guy here in town that played for me, and his wife played for me too. And their son's 6'11". He's supposed to be one of the top 10 players in the nation. He'll be a senior that's coming up. And we have they're just had several kids of my ex-players played for me and are playing for Oregon Tech now. And so it's just, I had 302 players play for me over the years. And the names are all up on the wall under my name at the I call it Danny Miles Court. And one of my Australian players who works at Oregon Tech as an assistant coach now had all their names put up there with my name just underneath, and it's really, really special.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I've had some great kids, and I talk to them a lot. And I have one player that's a little older than I am. He was, when I was 24, my first year coaching, he was 26. So he calls me regularly from Arizona. And so I have a 76-year-old player that played for me.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic. Most thrilling victory?
Well, I'd have to say, winning that first national title was something special because we were the lowest seed to ever win the championship, 16th seed. But one year we had to win to go to the national tournament, and we were tied. College of Idaho had the ball. They played it down, and they hit a shot with 2.2 seconds. We run what we call the bubble after a made shot. And so we got the ball out quick. We got the ball to our point guard who ran the bubble. He got just about to the top of the key on our end of the court. And he threw a 74-footer up, banked in for 3 points. We go to the national tournament. College of Idaho had 6 chances their last day. If any of the 6 teams would have won the game that they were listening to from back east as all the tournaments were finishing up, they didn't get one team of those pull the upset, and they couldn't go. We went. So it was, I'd have to say that was the greatest win, because that was the longest shot I've ever seen made to win a game. And funny thing about that is it was an Australian player that made it. His dad, in Australia, winter is summer in Australia. And
Right.
they had a swimming pool, and his dad was drinking a few martinis, listening to the game. His son made the shot, and he ran out through the door and jumped in the swimming pool, went crazy. But it was special. But the national tournament wins, just that first one when we were 16th seed, and actually we were the third lowest seed to ever win. Our second one, we were 11th seed. And then the last time, our third one we won, we were 7th seed that tournament. But coming back to 16th seed, almost the last team to be put in the tournament, 32-team tournament, was real special.
Yeah,
too.
that's pretty amazing. What was the week like for those tournaments? I know it was were they usually in Branson, or they were in different places?
Yeah, well, the first couple, all the national tournaments we won were in Branson. The earlier tournaments, they were in Idaho at a big arena, 8,000-seat arena, and then they were in Stevensville, Texas, for a little bit, and then they ended up in Sioux City or whatever last couple of years. But Branson was a great place to play, just a great place for people to come to watch the tournament, because there's other things to do. And if you happen to get beaten like the first round, and you bought a hotel room for a week, and you at least had some things to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's all the music, right, and everything.
Yeah, all the music and stuff, and a lot of stuff. But it was they just did a super job there, and it was a great place to play. But you had to win 5 games in 6 days, or 5 and 7, and so, boy, you'd win a game, and then you go watch video,
right?
And you watch video until about 2 or 3 in the morning, and then get up and go shoot around, and then you're going again. You might be going the next day at noon or whatever. So you didn't have much time, but it was fun. I mean, it was just the adrenaline kept you going. If you're still in the tournament, boy, you're jacked, but that's why I think it's not that hard to play 5 games in 6 days, especially at that level when you're playing for the national championship and going forward to national championship. But pretty easy to get up for it.
Oh, I would think so. And you also had your friend Mike with you, right? You had your friend Mike next to you. You had a good time. You guys had a good time too, I'm sure.
Oh yeah,
on the road. Yeah. You gotta have your buddy with you, right?
Oh yeah. He was. We roomed together almost all the time.
Right, exactly.
When we got back to the national tournament, we got to have our own room finally. After we didn't have much money. We never had over four and a third scholarships on those 3 national championships, and we finally got the last 4 years of my coaching. We got 6 scholarships like a lot of the other schools, but it was pretty nice to win. We won the first one with about right around 3 scholarships, and so that was great.
That's great. How about on the other side, conversely, any losses that you still, you're hanging out, you're sitting, maybe just, relaxing, and all of a sudden one of those things just comes into your head that you wish you had, or something happened?
Oh, every day. The same,
right, okay.
The same game. I mean, we're playing Northwest Nazarene, a real powerhouse team. We're over there, and we have a 4-point lead with 4 seconds to go, and we're shooting a free throw.
Okay, so wait a minute. So up 4 with 4 seconds to go. You're on the line?
We're on the line.
Oh, Jesus.
And I'm trying to make a substitution to get a certain player out, and so what happens? We miss the free throw, so I can't get him out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I told the guy, yelled to him, I said, "Don't be within 30 feet of a shooter." Well, so this guy goes down court, and so he's about 40 feet from the basket, and we have a guy that goes over and puts his hand straight up. I don't think he even came close to fouling, but he was within 2 feet, let's say, or 2 or 3 feet.
Not a good closeout, huh, Coach?
Yeah, and and he was just standing there, and to this day, I'm sure he didn't foul him, but he shouldn't have been within 30 feet.
Of course not.
The guy throws up a shot, it goes in, and they call a foul.
Oh boy.
So now we're up 1.
Yep.
Okay, but he's shooting to tie it, and he's an 84% foul shooter. He goes to the line, he misses it so bad that he just barely skid on the front rim and went straight down. The guy gets inside position, puts it in, we lose the game.
Oh boy.
And that's impossible, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But as the worst loss we ever had, I couldn't believe it. And but I'll never forget that.
Was that on film? You have that on film?
Not now.
No, you did though.
Yeah, we did.
Right.
And,
after you threw it out the window, but
yeah.
You watched. I mean, it was just the stars were aligned. I guess no one boxed, right?
Oh, one guy didn't box. He was. I think he's so frustrated.
Yeah, he didn't realize
that. And the guy's a great foul shooter. We figured he'd just knock it down.
Right. He was probably. Yeah, he was probably. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And so, of course, we didn't box out, and the guy scores, and it just.
Oh,
we were out of timeout. I couldn't even call timeout because we're out of timeouts. So, where we could have said, all we have to do is box out here, and which we should have done anyway. So,
right. Of course.
But that kind of taught me a lesson. And I know a couple of weeks later, we're playing in San Diego, and we hit a 3-pointer, give us a 9-point lead with a minute to go. And I called timeout. This is with a minute to go and 9 points. And after the game, the coach was upset with me for calling timeout with a minute to go and a 9-point lead. And I said, Coach, we just lost the game with a 4-second lead.
Oh, no doubt about it. Hey, listen, nine. I know. Listen, ordinarily 9 points with a minute left, of course. But in this case, I'm like, timeout. Let's revisit this now.
Yeah, especially with a 3-point play. You come down, knock one, get a steal, and man, it's in the old days you had a 6-point lead with a you have a 6-point lead, you're going to win.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you, the 3-point thing, it's just. And then the other thing that happens now too, the clock stops when the ball's out of bounds.
Right, exactly.
Before you could let the ball roll.
Yeah, just go out. Right, exactly. Clock goes.
And the game,
I
game's
remember
over.
those days. Absolutely.
Yeah.
How do you view the game today? What's your take on the game? You still follow it? You watch a lot of it?
Oh yeah, I love college basketball. I don't care for pro basketball.
Me too.
I don't care for pro basketball. It's just you can almost name the score before each game. It's going to be 126 to 114, and LeBron's going to get 36 and this and that. But college basketball, I just love the enthusiasm, and I love Virginia, the way they play. I like the score, but I just love the job he does.
Yeah, me too. A little too slow sometimes.
Yeah.
Obviously, he did the right thing this year. 2 years ago, I just felt maybe if you rushed them, you could knock them out. You could kind of disrupt a little bit.
There's so many great coaches, and I find at our level, I think it's harder to coach at the small college level.
Yes, definitely.
With X and O's, because I think what you have at the small college level, you'll have 3 or 4 shooters on the floor at all times. In major college level, a lot of times they have maybe 1.5 shooters, and they have better athletes and they're bigger and stronger.
Yeah, athletically crazy. Right, exactly.
But to stop some of these small college teams is very difficult because of all the shooters that are on the floor. They spread you out, and it's tough.
No, I know. The game has so the game has changed for you. The pro game has changed for you, right?
Yeah, again,
tough to watch.
They just play so many games. It's hard to play hard all the time, I think.
Yeah, that's true too.
And they play hard, but not as hard as if they were only playing 30 games a year. The pros, boy, they'd be getting after it, like crazy if they're playing 2 games a week. But sometimes it's hard going back to back to back and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I just saw 1969 on YouTube. There was like a little clip. 1969 Knicks Lakers 6-game playoffs with Clyde in the backcourt. I mean, West was also, of course, but the flow was so. What I noticed more than anything, the passing was so different.
Yeah.
It was amazing. The passes were crisp. Guys were passing, cutting away, moving. And also defensively, guys were really playing defense.
Yeah. Well, I think all the way through it's I think it's difficult to play as hard, an 81 or 82 game schedule as you do with the college and 30 game schedule, and so, but a lot of people like the pros better. I personally like the college. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Favorite player growing up?
well, I really liked Oscar Robertson.
Oh yeah,
he was
Big O. Yeah.
and I thought, he did everything, and I thought, and of course Jerry West, he has a great jump shot, and
Mhm.
I don't know, those guys in the pros. I remember when I was a little 5'7" point guard. So there's a guy named, well, of course, Bob Cousy was a great ball
Well,
handler.
yeah,
That was
amazing.
Watson, and then there was a couple little guys that played at St. John's. Was there a guy named Egan or something? I can't remember. There was a couple guys back there and I remember the first college game I saw was LaSalle versus Duquesne. And that's probably when I was 10, 11 years old, and they finally started getting some college games on. But I got this. And first, I watched Oregon State play USC one time when I was about 12, 13, and that was hit home with me. The thing I saw in that game was interesting. High post, they put Oregon State put the guard in high post area. And I did that pretty much my whole career. I have a great ball handler at the high post against the zone, and I always did that. And I was always very effective for us because we have a great ball handler who can pass and shoot in there against usually their big man, and a lot of times our little guy would go right around the big man.
Yeah, mismatch. Right.
A lot of teams put their big center in the middle. And he's not a very good passer or shooter,
Sure.
And they aren't real effective against the zone.
Right. Now, defensively, what did you do? Were you mixing, matching all the time? What did you normally play, man or more zone?
Well, it was interesting. 1979, I thought we had a great matchup zone, and Michigan State won the national championship that year with Magic.
Right?
And then all of a sudden, a lot of people started running the matchup because they won the national championship.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when Wooden won the championships. Everybody tried to press like Wooden's team, but they didn't realize they didn't have a Jabbar or Walton in the back of it. Yeah, and so then I kind of went away from my matchup after that because people started learning how to attack it better and stuff. But later on, what we started doing, we were playing the pack line, pack line defense, and we call it the 5-pack. But we would, and we were doing that along quite a while ago. But one thing we did a little different than a lot of people, we'd have, instead of getting the pistols positions on defense, we wouldn't overplay the first pass. We'd point to the basket, point to our man and sag, try to get 4 guys in the paint, and one guy on the ball, aggressive on the ball, and the other people back in the paint. And we'd already work on, one of the things we wanted to do is take away 3-point attempts, and we didn't want people to be able to drive to the hole. So if we took away the drive by our lineman, by having sagging in there, it's hard for people to get to the basket. And the other thing we really worked hard, we chase a lot of screens on against 3-point guys, and so we had a couple defense. We had our base defense, which was pretty much stay with your man, and the other defense was combo, which we switched everything, and that ended up being our matchup zone. Basically, that's what it is. So our matchup really was what we call combo, and then we'd also go combo big or combo little. I had a 5'5" All-American guard. We go combo little with him. Switch the other 4 guys. He had to stay with his man. Or we go combo big when I had a big 6'10" kid. He'd stay with his guy, and we'd switch everything else. So one year I remember we played probably 90% combo. Another year we played probably 90% base. We didn't play a lot. We didn't full court press much. Very, very few college teams do. I think because the quality point guards, they can do a good job breaking.
Yeah, of course, right.
And but mostly half-court stuff. My career, we averaged pretty close to 80 points a game, and we give up about 69. And we always we were always one of the top assist turnover teams in the nation. 45 years, we always had, we're always in the top 10 in the nation assist turnover ratio. And a lot of times we'd score 80 points with an average less than 10 turnovers. So we very seldom turned the ball over. And so those were the strong points of what we tried to do offensively. And then, and again, one of the big things was try not to give more than 5 threes up a game, and try not to give more than 12 to 14 attempts per game.
Right. So you're back to that statistics again. So it always kind of goes back to that.
Right. See, one thing about attempts is, a lot of teams shoot 20, maybe they make 8, but they have 12 misses. The offensive team gets a lot of those misses. So if you can keep their attempts down, they're not going to get those offensive rebounds. One thing we always did, when I finished my career, we averaged 7 to 9 more shots than our opponents every game.
Okay.
And that's from taking care of the basketball.
Yeah.
And then limiting the offensive boards.
Yeah, I was going to say box and get the ball. That was a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, interesting. I'm sure you could talk about it forever, right?
Yeah, it's interesting stuff to talk about.
Absolutely. What's next for Coach Miles? What's the next chapter?
Well, right now I'd like to be able to see my family more. Of course, we haven't been able to do that. We got 19 grandchildren, and with this COVID thing, it's
that's tough.
Kind of spread out, and everybody's kind of staying home. Or both my wife and I are both in our 70s now, so we kind of have to watch it. I'm playing
she hasn't kicked you out yet? She hasn't kicked you out
yet? Not yet.
Right.
I'm playing some slow pitch softball, having fun doing that.
Oh, yeah. How's that doing? What position?
I play rover with the older guys, and then infield most of the time.
Nice.
I play with a team in Seattle and a team in Los Angeles, and we travel over and play in tournaments and
really?
Stuff, so that's fun.
So you're loving that?
Yeah, it's fun.
Right. How about anything else outside of sports? Music, food?
Not too much. My wife, we want to try to take a vacation here again when we get a chance. And but we're kind of staying close to home. Like I said, our daughter's back with us right now until she gets into, finishes up her schooling here. And just not a whole lot going on.
That's great. That's great. Well, you sound great. And I really want to say thank you so much. It was an honor to speak with you. I mean, I'm looking at my notes, and there's probably a million different things I forgot to ask or I'd like to ask, but I really, really appreciate you taking the time out and talking to me.
Well, you're sure welcome. It's sure a pleasure to meet you, and hopefully some of the stuff I talked about will be of interest to somebody.
Absolutely.
I'd like to say one thing, too.
Please.
If I can, Breakthrough Basketball has done some of my videos and stuff. They're coming out with a video on our entire program here soon. A guy came out in 2016 and did a week with us, and then something happened where he couldn't do it anymore, and it kind of went cold for a while. But they revived it, and they're going to be putting that out on the Dan Miles basketball, the full thing, our offense or defense or transition and value point system, the whole thing, the whole package, and quite a few high schools all over the country, and a lot of teams overseas use our value point system and some of our stuff. So it might be interesting to somebody down the road here. Absolutely.
So you want to say that once again? That's Breakthrough Basketball?
Yeah, you look up Breakthrough Basketball and then go to Dan Miles, and they have some stuff on us now, but there's supposed to be something real big coming out within a month or so.
Fantastic. Sounds great. Once again, Coach, I only wish you and your family good health and stay safe out there. And maybe I'll be speaking to you soon. I'd love to, maybe speak to you again, maybe a little follow-up. We could see what happens.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on, and best of luck to you too.
Thanks, Coach. Be well. Thanks so much for listening. Big shout outs to the crew behind the scenes, John Hart, Ian Lidovich, Russ McMahon, and of course my wife Jill. Don't forget to smash that like button, comment and subscribe, and follow at Grind and Pivot. You already know we appreciate you. Later, son.